'Cause fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
The scariest and almost deadly lesson from taking a month off. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, Like Diamonds, back again. Salt Strong Unchurched, we're back. I'm so pumped. I missed it so bad. I didn't realize how much I would miss doing these podcasts and miss all of you guys. I miss it a lot. I miss the feedback. I miss hearing from so many of you after I published one of these. And I'm really, really pumped. The last month, if you don't know, I took a whole month off of work. And that means out of my emails, out of meetings, out of just the day-to-day operations, I literally just exited, if you will, a hiatus, a sabbatical, whatever you want to call it. And that was to spend time with my family, to spend some time traveling, to spend some time reading and writing, spend some time in the Bible, and really just trying to get a lot more clarity on what I want and you know what I could be doing better in my life, what I could be doing is better as a leader, as a father, as a husband, etc. And it was amazing. It really was. I believe so many of us, especially if we're in the job, meaning if you're in the corporate world or have a job or an entrepreneur, whatever it is, we just get caught in the weeds sometimes. And I looked over the last 8 years, I was like, man, I've never really even taken a week off. I really haven't. I mean, yes, I've taken some vacations, but even then, just being honest, I'm always in my phone. I'm always still checking messages. I'm always forwarding stuff over. I'm still very, very involved and constantly thinking about it. And it was really good. One of my CEO friends had challenged me to do it. And he's like, amazing things will happen on your team. The right people will step up. You'll realize that you don't have to be involved in every single thing. And I did. My team was just amazing. I also will share, if you listen to my past podcast, I took a month off these podcasts as well. But the last Unchurched, I talked about my mission trip and all of the weird things. If you believe in, just this kind of spiritual warfare, there are so many things that didn't want me to go on that mission trip because I learned so much about myself and about God and Jesus and just people. And I was like, I wonder if that's going to happen. And it did. And this is not the lesson. I'll just tell you kind of a wild story. So July 1st is my first official day off. And that was like that 4th of July weekend. And it only took 3 days for Satan spirits. This is almost unbelievable. So by July 4th, the following things had happened. We got hacked. Our company did. So a bunch of emails got hacked. Not only that, they got into our Stripe account, which is Stripe. If you don't know, that's the system or the software that a lot of companies use to get credit card information. No one's information was stolen. Good news for you guys, bad news for us. But what happened is they got into that actual bank account, so they weren't able to see anything, and they didn't really care about that. They wanted the money, and they literally stole $50,000 from our account before we were able to stop it. So that happened in the first 4 days. And, I told the team, don't contact me unless building's burning down or something bad is happening. Luke called me there on the 4th of July and he's like, hey, I know we're not supposed to call you, but he's like, we just got hacked and they stole $50,000 of our money that is gone. It's just like it's a wire. If you wire money, the bank, it's your problem. The bank doesn't just support you. So long story short, yeah, we lost $50,000 in the first few days. Also, I don't know if someone broke in. I still don't know all the details, but also on that July 3rd night, around midnight, something happened inside of our tackle store. All the alarms went off. Cops came. Carol had to show up at midnight. So all these things happened in the first few days. And guess what that was doing to me, where I'm supposed to be off and on vacation and not thinking about it. Now I'm getting contacted right away. And it was almost like, all right, they need me here. And I was like, you know what? No, I made a promise. I'm going to let them figure it all out and let them handle it. And I did. But isn't that crazy? That all happened in just the first few days. Someone quit. It's just all kinds of craziness happened in those first few days. And Thankfully, everything else was, for the most part, smooth afterwards. We do have cyber insurance, so I'm hoping we get that $50,000 back. But just like all that, you got to file police reports and go through a million steps before they just cut you a check back. But so as of right now, we're out $50,000, but I'm hoping we can recover that at some point here in the near future. So back to the big lesson learned. And that's what's been interesting is everyone on my team, even some friends, even some fellow entrepreneurs are all asking, all right, what's like the big takeaway? No one wants to know, like, what are your top 10 takeaways? Everyone wants to know the takeaway. What's the one thing that you learned? And so I really spent a lot of time thinking about that. And good news is it wasn't that hard to come up with, because I had some really 3 kind of near death, like just really scary, wild experiences in 1 month. I don't remember having, and maybe it's because I don't get out of my comfort zone enough, but I had 3 legit, like scary moments, like near, like flash of death moments in 1 month, which is really, really nuts. I don't know that's ever happened in my life before. And I'll share each one with you, and then I'll share the big lesson learned. You'll probably start getting hints of it as I tell the story. So the first one was in Costa Rica. My wife and I had planned this trip, and it was towards the end of the month of July. And my wife still had to work, the whole month, but she was able to take 4 days off. So we went a long weekend and then a few more days, and went to Costa Rica. And my wife loves traveling off the grid, meaning not going to a resort type of place. I kind of like the resort stuff, but once I'm there in these kind of off the grid places, I really, really do love those as well. But I think part of me is somewhat lazy and just likes to be at a resort and have people cater to me, meaning off the grid, there's no waiters, there's no restaurants that you just have to walk to from your room. There's no one cleaning your room every day, like in a resort. There's no bartenders. You got to go shopping and do all the stuff yourself. So go to Costa Rica, got about a 2+ hour drive. San Jose is, one of the 2 main airports, if you're familiar with it. San Jose is kind of towards the middle of Costa Rica, and we were going west, about 2+ hours west to the beach there, and a little house we just found on Airbnb. So we had to go stop at a Walmart and all that. And if you've ever been to Costa Rica or any kind of third world country, it's just chaos. The second you leave the doors from baggage claims / customs, you just got people yelling at you, and they're all speaking in Spanish. All right, limo. Everyone's yelling at you, and we're trying to find. There's supposed to be a guy holding an Avis sign. So the Avis, all the car rental places are off of the airport area there. It's not like in America where you just walk underneath a road and all of a sudden your car's right there. And most of these third world countries, they're off a little bit. They're still in the same vicinity, but they're off the actual airport main strip. So we finally find the guy with the Avis sign, get in his little van. And even then, I hadn't been, on a third world country, like driving, and it was just like, oh my gosh. And, bikes are passing us. This guy's on the other side of the road for a little while, like going off road, going around trucks. Like this was all just to get to the Avis place. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to drive 2 hours in this madness. Not looking forward to it. Our plane had already been delayed. Customs took forever. And we didn't realize, because one, it's a couple hours behind, but it's also pretty close to the equator, that sunset was like at 6 o'clock, 5:45, 6 o'clock. And it's already like 5 o'clock by the time we're getting this car. So now I'm watching the madness that's happening here in front of me with all this car zooming around. I've already seen multiple cars pulled over in accidents. And I'm like, we're going to have to do this at nighttime. And oh, by the way, people in America should be very, very thankful that we even have lines on our roads, like meaning a line to say which side of the road you're on. Half of these roads, there's no lines. It's just a road, and you kind of go wherever you want to as long as you don't hit anybody. It was nuts. And of course, I'm also looking, I was like, wait a minute, I don't see lights on any, like even on the main highway, like the main, what we would call like an interstate, like an I-4, I-75, the main highways and interstates, they didn't even have lights that I could see. And so I'm just like, all this is going on my head because I'm always trying to plan and make sure we got everything covered. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a long, 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 long road. So we finally get our car. Why I'm getting the keys thinking we're like done, the guy says, oh, one more thing. He goes, we have to do this kind of orientation for what happens if you get in an accident. And I was like, is that likely? I've never had to do an orientation for what happens when you get in an accident. He's like, oh yes, it happens. Especially a lot of tourists, they're not used to the crazy driving. It happens a lot. So I already told you I have a little bit of anxiety. I didn't have an anxiety attack there, but like my heart's now pumping. Now I'm breathing heavy. I was like, oh gosh, I've already seen all this craziness just getting to the Ava's place. And now this guy's telling me, it'd be like if when you're flying, the pilot or the whoever on the speaker says, and you normally they say in the unlikely event it would be like if they said in the likely event this plane goes down. That's what I'm hearing him say. He's like, oh yes, it happens all the time. So we have to do orientation. He's essentially saying no matter what, even if it's a hit and run, you still just stay there. You don't move it. You wait for the cops to come. They will come. Just don't move it. People will go around you. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this, what do we get ourselves into? And I'm looking at my wife and she's like, it's going to be okay. She could tell I was stressed. And I was like, Lauren, I am not having fun on this trip. Oh gosh. So we finally get in the car and I literally, like, as soon as we pull out, we almost like this car goes flying by me around this corner and I almost got hit. I was like, all right, we're going to say a prayer over this car, over us, over our luggage, over everything that we're just safe. So I literally just stopped and said a quick prayer. I was like, God, please protect us from any cars hitting us. Just put basically a ring around us. Guard us with your angels. Like, please, please, please keep us safe. And I said a prayer and we took off. So we found a Walmart. There's one Walmart there in San Jose, at least on the way to where we were going. So we get all of our stuff for really the next, 5 days. So we get a ton of stuff. And as we're coming out of this Walmart, we tried to shop for an hour because we had to get everything, right? And where we were going, there's nothing. Like, we're in a really small town with no stores. Like, there's one little small market, but that you can get vegetables and stuff, but there was not much going on in this little town. So we stock up with everything from, waters and Gatorade to some beer and all the lunch meat and all the food that we would need. We did find a couple cool little restaurants. So fortunately, we were smart enough not to go too heavy on dinners, but we get everything we need and we're walking out of Walmart. Guess what starts happening? A little bit of rain and then a lot of bit of rain. So by the time we had put all of the groceries in the rental car, it is pouring down and there is lightning and thunder accompanying this. And I paid the extra money to have some reception so that we could find this place. And I get on the radar and this thing is just lit up red. Like, I'm talking massive, massive lightning storm. And I was like, can this day get any worse? So now I've already told you, I'm not excited about having to drive in this crazy city/country where there's no real signs of where you're supposed to go, right? And there's no lines on half the road. Like, literally, it was almost like they ran out of money. And so some of the roads had lines, like even just a dividing line between, like, on a 2-lane highway, like there'd be a line in the middle for showing which lane you're in, the left or right. Some of them had them, some of them didn't. Some you might be on a 2 or 4 lane road, like a legit highway interstate, and there was no lines anywhere. It was just 4 lanes. And yours, 2 of them obviously were supposed to be going north, 2 going south, but it was literally that crazy in some areas. So I finally get on the highway. There's traffic. It's a Friday night now. Sun's going down. Lightning is hitting everywhere. It's pouring rain. You can barely see. The windshield wipers are barely keeping up. My knuckles are white holding onto the steering wheel, just trying to get us where we're supposed to be going. So 2 hours later, I won't bore you with all the details, but almost have a couple little accidents. We avoided a couple. It was nuts. It's almost unbelievable what we went through just to get to finding we're getting close. I know we're getting close. I was like, all right, we're basically 15 minutes away. So I can feel it. I'm starting to relax a little bit. still raining. It literally rained and lightning the entire 2+ hours to this little place. And now it's pitch black. I'm talking like the only thing lights up the road are your lights. So think of like an old country road, but you're on an actual highway and people are going 100 kilometers per hour. It's a little bit weird. And the car they gave us, they don't have nice cars and they don't have like new LED lights in the headlights like we do here in America with newer cars. This was an old beat up SUV. I don't even remember what kind it was, a Mitsubishi or something. And the lights look like they were from the 80s. Like even my brights weren't even close to as bright as like my Tahoe just normal lights are. It wasn't even remotely close. Like it was barely lighting up anything. So I'm going super slow. I'm in the right-hand lane. I'm just trying to get us there safely without any accidents. So getting close. Lauren's like, all right, this is our exit. So I'm like, oh, thankfully get off this crazy highway where I can't see anything. So I got my brights on. We go around this little loop and then there's a yield sign. So we go under this bridge that was underneath the highway that we just left. And we go underneath like an underground bridge, essentially, that's just one lane. So people can go in and out of it, but one car at a time type of deal. If you've been in third world countries, you know what I'm talking about. You get a lot of those where you just stop. If you see someone else coming to you before, you wait, and then you go yourself. So no cars are coming, so we go underneath it. And then my gut was telling me we needed to keep going straight. But at this point, we were so far off the grid, we had really and we're underneath this bridge, essentially, we had lost reception. So the reception was kind of spotty. We were using Waze because Google Maps just went out completely. So we started using Waze, and Waze was telling us to go right at this point. And I was like, well, like that right would kind of be like the ramp to go back up the highway or interstate that we were just on. But I was like, it was still raining. It was tough to tell, but Lauren's like, no, it's definitely saying go right here. And I looked, and so we're literally just stopped. There's no cars behind us or anything. So I was like, all right, definitely says what to do. So I start going up this little hill that was kind of winding a little bit. And there was one car, or it was like a van that was a white van that was parked facing me, and I kind of go around him, right? Because there's no lines on these roads or anything. So he's parked facing me as I'm going slightly up this hill, and I look because I go slow just to see if there's any wind in there, and obviously still raining, but the rain was not happening on my driver's side window. So I look, and there's a guy there. He's looking at me weird, and I'm like, all right. So anyhow, we keep going up. Pitch black, by the way. I can't see anything except what's ahead of me, and then it opens up a little bit to the left of the top of this road. It's only one way to go. It opens up to another little highway. So, oh, cool. Must be the highway to the final stretch, where I know we're 15 minutes away, final stretch. So we start going on it, and I see a sign that says 90 kilometers per hour. So, oh, this is another main highway. So you might be already imagining what's happening here. So I essentially went up the ramp to the highway, going the wrong way, right? I'm now going up the ramp that normally people would be leaving to go off the exit that we needed to exit on. It would be like, if you're familiar with where I-4 meets Highway 27 in Central Florida, it'd be like going up that ramp into ongoing traffic, which is what I did. So not knowing anything, because it's pitch black. There's no lines. There's no signs that say wrong way or anything like that. I am now on the main highway interstate for this area, going very fast the absolute wrong way at night in the rain. Before too long, I see some lights up ahead, and then I see them getting closer to us, coming up pretty fast. I'm like, Lauren, we are literally going the wrong way on this two-way highway. I slam on the brakes. We skid. It's in the rain, so we're skidding. Slam on the brakes. There's an actual barrier. Imagine those concrete barriers on the right side of the road. So I can't just do a fast U-turn. I slam on the brakes. I put it in drive. So I'm now still facing the wrong way. Cars are coming at us 100 kilometers per hour, right? There's multiple. Now I'm seeing a whole little pack of these cars coming at us really, really fast. My heart is beating 150,000 miles per hour. I slam on the brakes, put it in drive, go forward as far as I can in the barrier, reverse it, slam on the gas again to reverse it. Now I'm at least facing the right way, but I am at a dead stop, and I see the cars in my rearview mirror coming really fast. Thankfully, they see my lights and realize this is probably some dumb American that doesn't know where they are, and thankfully start going around me as I finally get it and drive and start going. I'm talking, I am sweating, and this all happened in a split second. And thankfully, every one of these cars like were barely missing me because they're flying. Once again, I'm just now getting going in the right direction after going the wrong way. And these cars are all just flying past me, like barely missing me. Like I could see myself about to get hit. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we finally keep going, and I am like in freak out mode at this point. It takes a lot for me to lose it. It doesn't happen often where I feel just helpless, like my heart's beating so fast, and I was like, I can't do this. I was like, I literally can't do this. I'm like the point I just want to cry. I was like, I don't know where we are. We've now lost perception. The Waze is like cut out. I don't know where we are. And now we're back on the wrong highway. And how who knows? This is not like in America where they have an exit every mile. And it was like, I don't know, it was like 8 more miles or whatever till the next exit. Even I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to lose it here. And so we pulled over, literally just pulled over. We found a safe place to pull over once all these cars had passed us. And I prayed again. And I was like, Lord, please just help us find the way. And then we kept going a little bit further, and I found a place that I could essentially get back on the other highway going north. So I found kind of like you would imagine like where a police would go through on a middle little road there. So I get back on the right way, find the original exit. Instead of going right, I go straight. It's still this whole time, my heart's just still beating. Like I am wide awake at this point, even though all I want to do is just sleep and find our place. And we finally make it. Of course, we were supposed to go straight at that place. We went right up the wrong ramp. And we finally get there, and oh my gosh, like it was obviously most of what we talked about is like we almost lost our lives there. And I mean, had there been just one car not paying attention, or had we not turned around as fast as we could, we would have been on a head-on collision, going really fast. Because I was flying, thinking we're going the right way. These people were flying because they were going the right way. And gosh, it was anyhow so scary. So that was the first one that happened. The next one that happened was when I was picking my daughter Savannah up at her camp in Tennessee, and everything was perfect. We got on our flight from Nashville back to Tampa, and we're landing in Tampa, and meaning like we're about to land. So like I'm thinking about how excited we are to, I guess let me backtrack. My daughter had been gone for a whole month. So, none of us had seen her for a whole month. My wife, Lauren's at home. Jackson's at home. We're all super excited to see her. I got to see her because I'm hanging out with her that day as I picked her up. And all I can think about is how everyone's excited to see her, and she's get to sleep in her own bed after being at this outdoor camp for a month. And we're about to land, and it was kind of like you could almost feel that we weren't straight, like almost like that we were tilted. When you're about to land, you feel you just have a sense like, oh yeah, this looks like it's gonna be a smooth landing. And so we're literally about to land. Like I can see the land, it's right there. We're getting close, but it's almost like he's still kind of coming in at an angle. And the pilot must have seen that there's another plane like below it, like coming in as well. No lie. And apparently this happens quite a bit. I believe this one even made the news, where there's like another plane. So just like doctors or anyone else, mistakes are made even at these, the control towers in these airports. And somehow there's two planes kind of hitting the same runway around the same time. Our pilot sees it. I'm guessing. I don't know all the final details, but imagine we're about to land. I don't see it because it happened on the other side of the plane where this other plane was coming in as well. And all of a sudden we're within 100 feet, let's just say, of landing. We're that close to the runway. And all of a sudden it is full throttle, like Mach force, everything this guy has to pull us up and away from this runway. And like my daughter, she's like, I don't feel good. Like people are freaking out. Like, that rush if you've ever been on a plane that does that, where it's just we're about to land, and then all of a sudden he pulls everything he has, every amount of thrust and power in this airplane to get us up and away. And so we were very close to hitting another plane. Long story short. And now the pilot's freaked out. Like, no, he makes another round and he can't land the thing. Like he was literally that freaked out. So now we've made 2 passes at this runway, and it's sprinkling a little bit. So he blamed it on, there's rain and some lightning storms out here. We all know better. We're like, it ain't that bad. It can't be. Like, what's the heck is going on? So now everyone's freaked out. Like, people got their gag bags out, and I'm sitting here praying. I was like, please, Lord, let's just land safely. Got my daughter here. I wanted to just get home. And so finally, the third one, it was not pretty, but the dude landed. He was literally probably like I was in the car, just freaked out. And I saw the guy later. It was a young guy, and he was up there probably humiliated and embarrassed, but kudos to him. He stood there and said goodbye to everyone and kind of apologized. It was absolutely nuts. And I didn't find out until about the other plane, until the baggage claim, one of the guys who was on the other side of the window, he's like, yeah, dude, I literally saw the plane right there underneath us. He's like, it was scary as can be. I'm like, holy smokes. I almost died 2 times in a single month. The third one, car again. In Costa Rica. Maybe this is a sign we should just hire drivers in third world countries. So on the way home, and by the way, I didn't drive a single time once we got to our place in Costa Rica. We walked, and good news, there was a ton of hiking trails, and even the restaurants you could walk to. We walked everywhere. I was like, I ain't getting in this car again, so I'm driving home. So we get in the car. We don't have much reception at all where we're staying, so we kind of had to wait until we got back to one of those highways till we had reception again. So we put in San Jose International Airport, and we believe it says 2 hours, so we assume it's got the right place. Long story short, it didn't. So we're taking definitely a different route than we took, but then again, it was pouring, raining, and lightning, so I didn't remember much, and it was dark. Now it's in the middle of the day at least, and we're going back just some weird ways, and we're had to put it in 4-wheel drive in one instance. Like, we're up this kind of gravel road up a mountain. I was like, it must be Lauren and I both just assumed it must be an accident or something on the highway. Tons of accidents here. Maybe Waze just took us a better route. And then another 30 minutes goes by, and we're going up like these just crazy windy roads. And then all of a sudden we have to stop to let these cows go by. And I'm like, where the heck are we? And Waze is still working somehow, but we've lost reception. So I was like, all right, well, we can, at this point, we can only trust Waze to get us there. And then Lauren's now kind of going through Waze, which, it's a direction app. And she's like, I don't know, this just seems weird that I don't see this getting us to the San Jose airport. It's like, we're like in a whole different peninsula of the country. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah. And so now at this point, we're on essentially the top of a mountain. You can't go in reverse. We've already gone who knows how many miles up this mountain. And so I'm just like, all right, well, at some point we have to hit the top. It's got to come down. And then we could just find an area where reception, talk to someone. Thankfully, my wife speaks pretty good Spanish, but there's no one up here except for cows. And I kid you not, I have some pictures. My wife even took like a video, like one of these, like, hey, in case we die, here's where we were. We're up in the clouds. So now I can't see anything. There's literally clouds around us. Like, if you've been in clouds before, it's almost like a whiteout. You can't see out. It's precipitation on your windows. Even though it's not raining, you're just like, what the heck is going on? And there's nowhere to turn around. Finally, I see someone coming, and it's just windy as can be. Imagine going up like in the mountains where it's super unsafe. It's slippery. Like our tires have been sliding multiple times. I'm freaking out now. I was like, if we slide over this mountain, there's no barriers. There's nothing there to prevent you. And it's just straight down in some of these areas. So I finally found one area that looks safe enough for me to do a 3-point turn to turn around again. This time, at least not going into the ongoing traffic, but I finally found one area that was just safe enough. And I am like, I'm literally shaking. Cause like, if I go a foot too far on this, we're going over this cliff. It's this bad. And we're in the clouds, can't see anything. We have no reception, no one to talk to. We're lost up at the top of this mountain. in the wrong part of Costa Rica. We're not even close to San Jose, by the way. In fact, we're now an hour plus away from the airport. We went an extra hour the complete wrong way over this mountain range. And I had to do the same thing again, which ties in Unchurched. I prayed. I was like, Lord, please just give us the sign. I felt so helpless. I don't know if you've ever been there before, where forget about missing the flight and all that stuff. That was way, way down the path. I was worried for our safety. I was like, we're up here in an old crappy Mitsubishi in the clouds on the top of this mountain, no idea where we're going. If the brakes went out, we die. If I missed this thing by a foot, if another vehicle comes, it was essentially a 1-lane road. They can go up or down. If another cattle truck comes up this thing, one of us is going to be on the edge of this road. Third world country. No one knows we're up here. No one could even find us if we went over the side. It would take forever. There's not like houses up here. This is up in the middle of a mountain range. My heart's beating. I am clenching the steering wheel and going as slow as I can. I'm like, Lauren, I can't go any slower. I'm not even on the gas. But I have to use some gas because we're up this massive steep incline. So it's steep as can be. All you see when you go back down is it is straight down. So it's just braking the whole way to make sure you don't slide on this wet surface that takes you over the edge. So I finally do my 3-point turn. I'm just braking all the way down. It seems like we're going forever because we went up this mountain for an extra at least 30 plus minutes, just up the top of this mountain. We went over a whole mountain range, it turned out, when we finally got to the next town where we got some reception. And then we finally hit a little town, and there was 3 ways to go. I don't even remember which way we came because I was just listening to Waze, just kind of zoned out, thinking about getting home. And so I was like, Lauren, I don't even know where we are. There's no signs to San Jose because we're not even close to it. We're an hour plus away. And I was like, let's pull over here at this little town. And there's one little store, like an old antique type of store. They're selling rugs and stuff. And I was like, let's just go in and talk to them. And we went and talked to them. And they were confused, like, you're not even close. And they didn't speak no English. Thank goodness Lauren spoke Spanish. And she's interpreting for this for me later. She's like, they were confused on why we're even here because this is nowhere close to San Jose. But basically, we went over the wrong mountain range. Still have no service, by the way, in this little town. So Waze is still not working. But they gave us some step-by-step directions, at least to get us back to a main highway where we could get reception. Like, they couldn't even give us instructions on how to get to San Jose because it was too many turns. So I'm like, oh, my goodness. The only good news is we had left super, super early, just in case something crazy happened with, checking in or getting lost, etc. We finally get back on the road, and now we're still having to deal with the normal just traffic of Costa Rica and people passing us, motorcycles going all around us. And we finally get back in an area with reception. And we finally make it back, barely make our flight. I'm sure we're the last people to check in by far. We're just hustling, sweating. But long story short, we made it safely. And I'll tie all these kind of 3 near-death experiences in with the lesson learned. And as you can imagine, all 3 of these things had something in common. They were scary. They were, who knows how close? I don't know how. You never know how close you are to actually dying. I felt the one because I saw car lights coming at me at 90 kilometers per hour. But all 3 of these, my heart was beating like this could be the end. Same with the flight, about to go down and rushing up. And all these things were incredibly scary and somewhat deadly. The biggest takeaway, though, in every one of these, just minutes before, so the minutes before we went up that essentially exit ramp to oncoming traffic, minutes before I was pumped. I was so excited. I knew we were close. I was like, we're almost there. Like, this is going to be awesome. And within split seconds, everything changed, right? I almost lost myself, my wife, who knows what could have happened. And literally in split seconds, everything around me changed. Same with the flight. Right. We're literally landing. I'm ecstatic. Like, all right, I'm telling Savannah, we're almost home, babe. We're going to get to go home and sleep in our bed and see everybody. And in seconds, everything changed. I could have lost my daughter. Who knows what would happen had we crashed and hit another plane? It could have been an explosion. We all died. Who knows what could have happened? The other one, right? I'm so pumped. We're gonna get home, see the kids, see everyone. And in split seconds, I realized we were lost and possibly could die up in the mountains of these clouds. Everything changed. And the lesson was to appreciate everything you have, to appreciate the people around you, that everything that we have, you never know when it could be gone. And every one of those, life was great. I was literally like super pumped. It wasn't like things went from bad to worse. I didn't know anything was going wrong. In either of those situations, 3 situations in a single month, I was so excited. I was like literally on a high, like excited. In every one of those, I was super, super pumped. And in split seconds, everything changed, where everything could have been taken away from me. Thankfully, God has bigger plans for me and they're not done with me yet. But literally everything could have been taken away from me. It could have been my wife, could have been my daughter in one instance, could have been me. You never know when it could be gone. And that was really the big lesson to appreciate so much. And I do believe that God was kind of preparing me for this lesson. Oh, because when you have a month off, you appreciate everything so much more. Even just all the birds. And we were in Costa Rica. Once we got there, it was super relaxing. I read so much. We sat on that back porch and just watched the waves. I was watching, like, we had hummingbirds coming up to our little place every day. There's tons of hummingbirds there and little monkeys. Normally, I would have been in my email and just worried about all the stuff of life. I appreciated so many of those small things. So I'd written that down in my little kind of daily journal. It's just, man, it feels so good to appreciate all the little small things. I don't think we experience all the cool things from nature to all the relationships that we have that God has put in our lives. And sometimes it takes a near-death experience or a death experience, sadly, before we kind of appreciate all that we had, and whether it is relationships or things or birds, animals and stuff, all the cool, amazing things that I had kind of missed out on because I was just so busy. And I saw that too in every instance, whether I was traveling or just in my day-to-day kind of going to the grocery store. I was able to take my time, honestly, for one of the first times in a really long time. Normally I'm so rushed, and I realized how rushed everyone is around me. It's kind of like if you used to have drinking buddies, or you drink a lot, or even if you still do, and you take a night off and you're the designated driver around all your drunk friends, you realize how sloppy and dumb they are and the things they say. I realized how in a rush and how rushed and rude people are when I was able to take myself out of that for a month and just slow things down and appreciate everything. People weren't appreciating anything. They were mad. I saw multiple just people getting fights and yelling and throwing the bird out their window, because someone cut them off. Like, it's crazy how little we slow down to appreciate all this stuff. And that would be my challenge to you. It's going to be my big challenge. And honestly, it's going to be the thing that challenged me the most, is to keep part of that appreciation and that slowness that I experienced in the month of July into the month of August and months following, is to appreciate everything around me, appreciate the people around me. You never know in a split second how quickly it could be taken away from you. And that was very eye-opening, all 3 of these things. I don't know if you could feel it there with me, but I mean, it was near, like, as close to death as I could possibly imagine. My heart in all 3 of those instances was beating so fast. A couple of times when I was driving, I'm just white knuckles. And in every one of those, guess what I did? I prayed. And that would be my second challenge to you. If you are in a tough spot, whether it's been ongoing or if it's a split second change like I experienced, there's nothing better than taking a second to just pray. And in all 3 of those, I don't know that it saved me or not, but I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I know God had a hand in that, because all 3 of those could have been instances where it went horribly wrong. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. That was my big takeaway by far, was just to appreciate the people, the relationships, all the experiences and everything around you, to take it in and really, really savor it. You never know when it could be gone. Guys, I'm so glad to be back. I've got a lot of really cool podcasts coming up. I've been taking tons of notes. I already have like the next 4 episodes kind of already outlined. Obviously, a lot of great takeaways when I was able to really slow down and appreciate all the stuff I have, and some really, really neat ideas and concepts were popping into my head. So love you guys. Can't wait to chat on the next Unchurched episode. As always, hit me up. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one, if you had any takeaways yourself, or if there's any questions you have or thoughts. Joe@saltstrong.com, Joe@saltstrong.com. Ow!
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul, it was